Welcome to the Think Podcast.
We've covered a lot of ground today, but let's, really bring it down to where the rubber meets the road. We're talking about general revelation and we're talking about apologetics. What about when it comes to dads who are going to watch this and they're thinking, how am I going to raise my kids so that they have a healthy fear of the Lord and they have an awareness of the cosmos around them, the world around them, and what it is teaching them about God? What do dads, especially young dads, need to know in order to be able to lead their families and equip their kids to rightly interpret general revelation, both for themselves and so that they're prepared and equipped to defend the truth of God's message? How does general revelation factor into it for those dads?
I really think it starts there. And for this reason, I think what your child is going to want to know in different ways of development, different developmental stages, what they're going to want to know is what is their highest good? What gives their life meaning? So if a Christian youngster grows up and they've been told to memorize lots of things, but then they get challenged in their college class and they realize, well, I've memorized a lot of things, but I don't know what they mean or how they fit together to give my life meaning or what the highest good is, it'll all fall apart. And so I think a father wants to avoid that. Would teach the kid, what is your highest good? If your highest good is knowing God, then these other things fall into place because you'd say, I want to know God in all the ways he's made himself known. I want to know God in his works of creation and of providence, in general revelation and special revelation. And I think that just having that piece in place would equip them for most of the kinds of challenges. Because the challenges that I see for young Christian students are from the schools of, say, Darwin, Marx, Freud, about the meaning of these beliefs. And if it's just another one of the delusions humans have invented to make themselves get through life before they die.
Yeah, the opium of the masses.
Yeah, and if all you have is, when I die, I go to heaven, you'll start to think, I get, that really does seem to fit Marx's critique, I think. And on that point, I agree with Marx. The thing is, Marx, I think, was right in his critique of some of religion, because that's all it has been doing. It hasn't been acknowledging God in the works of creation. So I think a father would want to teach his children that. It's summarized that way in the first question. What's the chief end of man? The highest thing you can aim at. And I don't think the glory of God means the dying and going to heaven. If we connect up that question with the question about the first commandment, which says you're to know God and all that by which he makes himself known. So you glorify God by knowing his works. What if we had a generation of youngsters ready for that?
Yeah. What you said actually reminded me too of the classical trivium in education, where you start with grammar and you learn the basic tenets and the things you're supposed to believe. You get catechized. You mentioned Westminster quite a bit. I've got my catechism that I wrote, catechids, that I use with my own kids. But if it just stops there, that you haven't integrated, you haven't gone through the logic phase or the dialectic phase. Absolutely. Where you're integrating, and then there needs to be that rhetoric, that the application of these ideas out into the world. I like to think of it as weaponizing what you've learned.
I think that's right. I mean, I use that classical treatment, or I think it's absolutely right. It fits up with the developmental stages of the youngster.
Yeah.
So that's right. And so I think apologetics, I love apologetics, but it could have a bad name in this sense. It could simply mean arguing for your position. And anybody has apologetics. That's what a lawyer is. You hire a lawyer. A lawyer will argue anything you'll pay them to argue. Mm-hmm. And they can be really good at it. So I want to connect apologetics up specifically with the knowledge of God and teach our kids to love knowing God. That, I think, will be the piece of it. They'll love what you love. So if they see dad studying the knowledge of God, say, my dad really loves knowing God. There must be something to it.
That's good.